All right, today we're going to tackle the question that is seriously shaking up education as we know it. How do we handle assessment in the age of AI? For centuries, we've relied on exams and essays to figure out what students have learned. But what happens when that entire model gets flipped on its head? Let's get into it.
And this, right here, is the question at the absolute heart of the whole conversation. It's a little provocative, sure, but it's one we have to ask. I mean, if a student can just pop a question into an AI and get the right answer, what are we actually testing? It really forces us to take a hard look at the entire point of assessment.
So before we can even start talking about solutions, we have to get really clear on the problem. And the problem is, well, the traditional test is fundamentally broken.
I mean, think about it. Every single exam, every paper you've ever written, it's all built on this one big assumption, that the student is working completely alone. For more than 100 years, that's been the bedrock of academic integrity. We test what one person knows in isolation. And then, almost overnight, generative AI comes along and just shatters that assumption. The whole game has changed. A student now has a tool that can solve a complex math problem, draft an entire essay, or write code in literally seconds. That old foundation? Yeah, it's crumbling.
And this is where you really see the clash. The old model was all about recall. Can you remember facts, dates, formulas, and reproduce them on a test? But here's the thing. In the AI era, that's precisely what machines do best. Instantly and perfectly. So any test based only on recall is, let's be honest, pretty much obsolete. So, how have most schools and universities reacted? Well, it's turned into this kind of academic arms race. They're pouring money into AI detection software, bringing in stricter surveillance for exams, basically trying to catch students in the act. And it just turns a classroom into this high-stakes game of cat and mouse.
And this is exactly the pivot we need to make. This whole detection game is a losing battle. The tools are clunky, they're often wrong, and it completely misses the bigger picture. The answer isn't more policing. The answer is to rethink the entire system from the ground up. So this brings us to the real turning point. If the old questions don't work anymore, then we have to start asking better ones. And this isn't just about tweaking an exam here or there, it's a deep philosophical shift in what we actually value in learning. And yep, we're coming back to this idea because it's everything. This isn't about giving up or admitting defeat to the machines. It's about taking this as a massive opportunity to elevate what we ask our students to do, to push them way beyond just remembering things.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in a classroom? Well, the answer seems to be in shifting our focus away from that final, perfect, polished submission and towards something way more interesting, the learning process itself.
This is the core of the new model. We move from product to process. It means we stop caring only about the final essay or the one right answer. Instead, we start to value the whole journey, the messy first drafts, the students' reasoning, their moments of reflection, and the actual growth they show along the way. And in this new model, you see AI isn't the villain anymore. It actually becomes a pretty powerful partner. When we ask students to use it openly, it can support all that crucial learning that happens during a project, not just what's tested at the very end. So picture this. Here's a workflow. A student uses AI to brainstorm some ideas. Then they write a draft and use the AI to get feedback. But here's the most important part. Step 3, reflection. The student has to analyze that feedback. What was useful? What was just plain wrong? The final thing they hand in isn't just the essay. It's the essay plus the evidence of their entire learning journey.
Now, of course, a shift this big isn't going to happen overnight. To really get there, we have to start building an ethical and fair framework for what an AI-ready future in education looks like.
And what's so cool is that this approach works pretty much everywhere. In a STEM class, a student could be asked to critique and improve code that an AI wrote. In a literature class, they could compare their own interpretation of a poem to an AI's. In law school, they could be tasked with evaluating an AI-generated legal brief for ethical flaws. See, the key here is that we're not outsourcing the thinking to the machine. We're designing tasks around the machine that force students to use their uniquely human skills, things like critical thinking, creativity, and ethical judgment. Those are the things that become front and center. So really, we have two paths forward. We can try to ban AI, which is, let's face it, totally impractical and also pretty unfair to students who are going to graduate into a world where these tools are everywhere. Or we can teach them how to use these tools responsibly and ethically. That's how we prepare them for the jobs they're actually going to have. And this is a big one.
a question we absolutely cannot skip over. If we're going to lean into AI in our classrooms, what do we do about the fact that not all students have equal access to the best AI tools?
The responsibility here really has to fall on our institutions, on our schools and universities. They have to be the ones to provide access to these tools and provide the training on how to use them well. We simply cannot let AI literacy become a new form of privilege. So as we wrap up, I want to be super clear about what this is not. This whole evolution in education, it is not about letting machines grade our students or replacing teachers. It's about something much, much deeper. It's about refocusing our assessments on the skills that will actually matter in the future. Not just what you can memorize, but your ability to think critically, to be creative, to make ethical choices, and maybe the most important skill of all, the ability to learn and adapt right alongside these incredibly powerful tools.
And that really leaves us with this final, massive question. Because this isn't some far-off sci-fi future we're talking about. It's the world our students are walking into right now. The challenge for all of us, for educators, for schools, is to build a system of learning that doesn't just recognize this new world, but actually prepares our students to thrive in it.